Okay, good afternoon, beautiful people. So it is your girl Bev, right? I know I haven't talked to y'all in a long time. Well, I've had a lot going on, and I mean good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. More information about that to come. I'm starting my own business, so I figured I would, enlighten y'all a little bit on that. But today, that's not what I wanted to talk about. Today, honestly, I want to talk about something that may be taboo for some people or something that may be like strange to some people. Sorry, I gotta, whatever this is, it's got to go. My lips are a little too shiny for me. Let me see if I can walk across the street without being hit. Oh my gosh! Okay, so I just want to be crazy. Anyway, so I'm going for a walk because it feels really, really good outside. So I figured I would go ahead and do a video while I'm on break because I'm working from home today. Well, this is the thing. Mental health. Mental health is very important to me because if anybody knows my story from the past, I've dealt with depression and anxiety, and it is not my favorite thing. It shouldn't be anybody's favorite thing. But I will say that mental health is very important because you can miss all the signs of someone being depressed or always having anxiety if you're not paying attention. You may think that someone is frantic or someone is being lazy or someone is not caring about you or someone is ignoring you. You can feel all these negative ways if you don't understand the dynamics of depression. You can think that somebody is starving themselves because you don't realize that they are depressed or they don't have a reason in their minds to live. So when you hear about people that have always been happy, bubbly, out and about doing things that they normally would do, then all of a sudden you hear about them committing suicide. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, like that person was such a happy person. If you got to think about it, I am a bubbly person, and when I dealt with depression, I literally had to try to maintain that personality of mine. I had to maintain it because I did not want no one to know that I was depressed. I didn't want no one to know because I didn't know if they would be able to handle it because I'm so, how are you? And then all of a sudden I'm just like, crying because I don't want to come home, crying because I don't want to go to work. In my car now, not in front of my family. There were only two people that knew I was depressed, and one of them was not a part of my family, and the other one was my little sister, Destiny. So I told her, but she did not know. I didn't give her details because I felt like it was too much for her to know. So the person that wasn't a part of my family, they knew the ins and outs. They knew how I felt. I would text them long text messages and tell them how I felt throughout the day. And, the only thing they didn't know is just that I had given up on life, period. But I think Jim Carrey said, you don't really want to die. You just want depression to die. You just want depression to go. So that was my thing. I didn't want to live, but it wasn't really life I wanted to escape from. It was depression. But in your mind, you feel like that's the only way to escape it, is to leave this life, so to speak. So some of the things that I've noticed over the years in the medical field is that we ask patients questions about depression. We ask them about anxiety. We ask them about sleep patterns. We ask them about doing drugs. We ask them about, drinking alcohol. So I want to just shed some light on some of the questions that I've had to ask my patients and some things that I think that would help anybody that really, truly wants to take care of their loved ones a lot better, right? So first things first, of course you ask them if they do drugs, stuff like that. But I'm thinking along the lines of mental health because sometimes mental health can also trigger doing drugs. It can trigger drinking alcohol. I'm not saying it as an excuse to say that everybody that does drugs or everybody that drinks alcohol is going through something mentally. I'm not saying that. Okay, let me just make that plain for the ones that may be a little too deep. But I will say that you never know what is causing that person to respond to that drug addiction or to whatever addiction they have because they're simply not themselves mentally. So let's say one of the questions, let's say you have a family member that, these are some things I think should be asked sometimes, especially kids, especially with the pandemic, especially even outside of the pandemic. Like, it's not just narrowed down to the pandemic. It's literally narrowed down to many more other things, right? So let's just say, we have a patient come in or whatever. So I have to ask them a question, and I have to ask them, in the past, I asked them about their sleep pattern. Have you been having trouble sleeping, right? So I asked them, have they been having trouble sleeping? And they say they can't fall asleep, or they can't stay asleep, or they've having problems waking up too early before their alarm. Okay, so that may be a concern that maybe they are missing sleep due to anxiety, or not being able to sleep due to depression, or things like that. Okay, so if they answer a certain level, okay, is it mild, moderate, or severe? So we go through those questions, right? Mild, moderate, or severe, and then we score them. And as we score them, that lets us know whether they're positive for a concern or negative for a concern, depending on the number. And then after that, we say, okay, well, we keep going. And then after that, I say, in the past 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge? Now, the way they word certain questions in the medical field is kind of like, say it again. So I will reword that and say, in the past 2 weeks, have you been feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge? Just to get an answer first. And they may say, yes. So I'll say, okay, so have you been several days in the past 2 weeks? More than half the days in the past 2 weeks, or nearly every day in the past 2 weeks? And so they'll say, well, it's only really been several days in the past 2 weeks. And so, okay, several days is one. Okay, so that's not a lot, right? And then I'll ask another question that says, how often have you been bothered by trying to stop or control worrying in the past 2 weeks? So they may say, can you reword that? So I'll say something like, okay, have you been, worrying excessively in the past 2 weeks? Yes or no? And they'll say, well, no. And so, okay, well, we'll leave that alone. So they're technically negative, right? But if you got a person that says, yes, I've been bothered by feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge in the past 2 weeks, nearly every day. Okay, that's a concern. And I've been worrying excessively in the past 2 weeks, nearly every day. That's another concern. So that's 3 and 3. So that's 6. So they're considered positive right there. All right. So then the next set of questions we ask are, in the past 2 weeks, have you had no interest or pleasure in doing things? So they may say, what? So I always reword it and say, in the past 2 weeks, have you lost interest or pleasure in doing things you normally would do? Because, things that we normally would do or need to do or have the desire to do, if we're depressed, we're not going to want to do those things. We're not going to want to stand there and really take part in those things. I know I probably look crazy to people because I'm standing out on the street talking, but I don't care. This is me, honey. Take it or leave it. And so they may say, let's see, nearly every day. So that's a positive case. That's 3, should I say. And then the last question we ask them is, in the past 2 weeks, have you felt down, hopeless, or depressed? And they may say not at all. They may say several days out of the 2 weeks. They may say more than half the days out of the 2 weeks. Or they may say nearly every day. So depending upon the number and the response gives you the number. And if the responses are positive, all the way through, then we can refer them to see if they want to get help. Because some people just say, no, just not right now. Or they may say, yes, my children get on my nerves. It may be something lightweight like that. It may not even be the fact that they're depressed, or it's just that their kids have moved in and they causing a ruckus in their home and they're ready for them to get out. It could be something like that. So my thing of the matter is, when you really think about the conversations you have with people, and when you think about what they tell you when you're talking to them, let's say you have a friend that is like, for the past 3 weeks, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, I haven't been cleaning like I normally do. I just been sitting on the couch all day long watching TV when I get off work. When the alarm goes off, I have to pull myself out of bed. Like, I just don't understand what's going on. And there is a bee near me. Jesus, help me, Lord Jesus. And so in your mind, you're like, Well, what in the world could be like, girl, you better stop being lazy. You could tell them, you better stop being lazy. Get on up and clean. You ain't cooked in 3 weeks. What you been doing? Well, I really haven't had an appetite. And to someone that has never met anyone that's depressed, or to someone who is not used to, people being honest about their true feelings, or they're used to things being taboo, or they're in a certain community in their lives, or they were trained that, depression is a weakness, or anxiety just means that you need to trust God more. Okay, yeah, anxiety, you are worried about something. And yes, you do need to have faith that the good Lord gonna work it out. However, I need to figure out why I am so worried. I need to figure out why I am depressed. I need to figure out what is causing me to feel this way without having someone in my life that's gonna make me feel bad for being human. Hello, somebody. Okay, hit the delete button. Bye. Like, you can be very insensitive to a person that's depressed or to a person that's anxious. And you have to be careful, because words are everything to some people. Like, you can say one wrong thing and that trigger them to go back into their hole, to no longer trust you, to be, to really honestly say how they really feel. You have to understand that words have power. And when you don't allow those words to speak life into someone, and you want to be negative because you don't understand what it is that they're going through, you could be a contributing factor to them not getting better, for them getting worse, because they're going to feel even more alone than they already do. They already feel like they're by themselves. They already feel like no one understands what they're going through. And for you to speak the wrong thing simply because of ignorance, and that's the true word, ignorance, the lack of knowledge. So it's not just you lazy. It's like, well, what's going on? Like, why you ain't been having the energy? Like, I noticed that you canceled every weekend that we said we was going to hang out. You feeling all right? Like, this ain't normally like you. Like, instead of you saying, well, I feel like you don't want to hang out with me. I feel like you don't want nothing to do with me. I feel like you don't want to talk to me. When I text you, you don't respond. Like, what did I do? Did I do something to make you mad or whatever? Instead of you taking it personal, look at it from their perspective. What's going on in your life, sis? What's going on in your life, bro? Like, can I help you in any way? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts? How are you making it day by day? How's your mind today? How's your heart today? Were you able to get out of bed today? Without having to force yourself out of bed. That's the thing about knowledge. It gives you the power to help someone. But if you don't know, then how can you truly be of service? So if someone comes to you and you just have to listen to what's not being said. And that's one thing I can truly say I'm grateful that I have learned, over the years, is just to listen to what people aren't saying to me. They could be telling me that, they haven't really had an appetite, or I'm going to lunch and I see that they're not going to lunch. I'm like, you all right? You good? You not hungry today? And they may say, no, I'm not really hungry today. Okay, that's strike one. In my mind, I'm like, that's strike one. Either they're financially hindered, or something's going on wrong with them. And okay, I see the next day, like, what's up with you? Like, you're not eating today? I'll buy you some lunch. Come on, let's go. Lunch on me. Nah, I'm good. I'm really not that hungry. Something ain't right. I got on too much lip gloss. What in the world? Lips too big for that. Don't even speak on it. I know I'm crazy. And so I'm saying to myself, like, okay, you have to really listen to what people are saying, even when they're not saying it. Sometimes people have a cry for help that goes beyond verbalizing it. Sometimes their cry for help is being indirect, because they want to see. Sometimes it's because they want to see that someone is going to go above and beyond to help them. Like, sometimes you just want to know that somebody cares about you beyond the surface. So you may indirectly say, yeah, I really haven't been eating that much lately. I just haven't really had an appetite, like life just seems so dreary. And then you'd be like, yeah, girl, I understand. Yeah, it do seem like that sometimes. And then, be like, oh, well, girl, let's go get something to eat. I'll pay for you. Nah, I'm good. You sure? Like, you said you ain't really been eating, and that's bothering me. I'm concerned about that. I want to know, what's going on. You don't want to pry. I do get that. You don't want to pry, because some people don't want you to know. Some people don't want you to see or hear. So you can say something as simple as, well, whatever you're going through, Whatever's causing you not to have an appetite, I hope everything is all right with you, girl. Like, you don't have to get any details or anything like that because you don't want to be all in somebody's business. But there are some people that want you to go above and beyond. You just have to know the difference. You got to know when. But if you cool with that person, you can kind of know them well enough to know, like, okay, something ain't right. Well, you can say, okay, something ain't right. You ain't telling me something, and I understand if you don't want me in your business, that's cool. But I want you to know that I noticed X, Y, Z, and I'm going to leave it at that. And you leave it there because you noticed, and you told them what you noticed. And so that leaves the ball in their court on whether or not they want to invite you in or continue to keep you out. So my thing of the matter is mental health is very important. This pandemic, I never thought that the pandemic would even get to me, but evidently it got to me. And because of my history of depression and a lot of anxiety, I have learned to recognize it immediately. Oh no, we ain't doing that. No sir, Bob, we not doing that. So I've learned to channel my inner strengths and be like, no, I can't do this for myself. Like I have to, pull on heaven, in prayer and turning my plate down. And I got to really call on the Lord, and I really have to focus and be mindful of what I'm doing. So if anybody out there is dealing with depression, you're dealing with anxiety, you're just anxious and you're tired of the way things are and you don't really know how to go about changing whatever it is that you're dealing with, go outside, get some fresh air, write it down. These are things that I do. I write, I go outside, I go for walks whenever I can. I try something new, take you a good hot bath, put some Epsom salt in there, something that smells real, real good. Do certain things that make you smile, watch a funny movie that's going to make you laugh, call that person that you really enjoy talking to, because not everybody can understand where you're coming from. Some people will truly not know how to be there for you. So you got to make sure that when you do confide in someone, that they have the strength to handle what it is you're actually going through. And you'll be able to know, because if they can handle the small stuff, and without breaking, then that's good. But you don't have to give, if you want to confide in someone, give them a little bit and see what their response is. Because that's how I knew that the person in my life could handle me at the darkest moments in my life, because of the advice she was giving me, the advice she was pouring into me. It started speaking life to me. It started keeping me uplifted when I wanted to be down. And that's not something you often find or see in a person, where they can actually speak to you in a way where it resurrects something that was dying. My joy was dying, my sadness, it was just taking over me. And nobody couldn't really see it. But the way she was talking to me and giving me advice and filling me in on just how to overcome and how to stay strong and stuff, that stuff really spoke volumes to me. And it really helped me in a way where it's so beautiful out here, y'all, ain't it? Look at my hair all bushy. It really spoke volumes to me in a way where it made me want to come back to her and talk with her more, because I knew that I could trust her with my situation. Now, don't talk to nobody you can't trust. Definitely make sure that it's not going to leak, and definitely make sure that, it's something you want to do. But just look out for your friends, people. Look out for your family members. I don't care if they seem like they always on top of the world. Sometimes the ones that are on top of the world are the ones that are underneath the valley. Not just in the valley, underneath the valley. So you just really got to, really got to think about it. Really got to channel your, just your listening ears to help somebody else, and to let them know that you love them, and it doesn't have to be anything big. Just the small things help too. So I thank y'all for watching this video. I hope I said something to help, something to heal, something to strengthen. Share it if you would like. I'm fine with that too. And just know that, yeah, I love y'all. I really do. And I want to see everybody wholly, happy, and healthy. Those are my words and my sister's words. So I love y'all, and y'all take care and have a good rest of your day. Bye.